What's up everyone and welcome back to Beating FPL. Actually, I've got no idea if I've ever called it Beating FPL before, but I'm going to be calling it Beating FPL going forward. So if I have called it that before, then welcome back. And if I haven't, then I guess welcome to the first ever episode. Today, we're going to be talking about my Game Week 5 results. We're going to be looking at a few key players and discussions around those. There's a lot of talking points around 4 or 5 players, so I'm going to make sure that I cover all of those. And we're going to be looking forward to Game Week 6 as well. I'm also going to address the slightly clickbaity title that I've put on this video, so apologies if you're offended. I'm not ranked number 1 in the world on FPL, but I did win a fantasy football game this week, so I will cover that as well. Before I get started, it was a really bad week for me. A terrible week, in fact. And I'm not even talking about fantasy football here. It's something much more serious than that. And I'm sorry if you're not into this emotional stuff, but this week, one of my friends found my YouTube channel. And it wasn't just any friend. It was my main mini-league rival. The guy that's finished second in our mini-league every year that it's been running. The guy that's come second to me for the last 2 years. The guy that's never won that trophy right there. So, that one was hard to take for me, but I guess, you know what? If people are finding my YouTube channel, then I'm growing. If you do like the channel, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and help the channel keep growing even further as well. It'd be very much appreciated. Let's move on now to talking about Game Week 5. As always, we're only going to cover this quickly. I don't find it that interesting to talk about what's already happened, and I find it more interesting to talk about what is coming up because, you know, you can't change the past. As you can see, I had a pretty decent week. I had Hart in goal for 3 points. I had Alonso blank and the double Liverpool midfield blank. I didn't bring Hazard in. I did tweet early on Saturday morning at Beating Betting, if you're not already following me on there, asking a quick poll whether I should change from Mane to Hazard for a -4. The result was 50-50. I didn't do it. Wasn't really that tempted as I've not taken a point hit this season and I'm trying to avoid it, honestly. It was slightly disappointing to have missed out on that Hazard haul, but I got a really good score. I got 93 points, I think, 92 points. So a really good week for me. I'm now into the top 17k. Definitely one of my best ever starts, if not my best ever start to a season. Normally, I spoke about this in my last video, I think, but I normally tend to start pretty slowly and I make my way up towards the higher ranks at the end of the season. I'm definitely normally a stronger finisher than I am a stronger starter, but I'm absolutely delighted to be where I am at this stage of the season. Hopefully, we can make a real run. The Doherty assist and 3 bonus was amazing. I got the Wan-Bissaka auto sub for Mendy, and my week was that good. I even had a Duffy 12-pointer on the bench and still managed to get 92 points. Pretty crazy week for me overall. I got 3 blanks, but the players that didn't blank all pretty much got double figures. So, I don't have Hazard, as I say. I'm going to talk about him in a little while. I know a lot of you want me to talk about Hazard this week, but the first player I'm going to talk about is Mendy. He's the obvious place to start, I think, because he was obviously injured in the last game. Is he going to be fit? Let's look at this in a little more detail. I think with Mendy, it's worth keeping an eye on. As always, Pep is a little bit mysterious in his news about him. Is he going to be fit? They don't really know. So it's worth keeping an eye on the Champions League fixtures this week. It's also worth noting I'm recording this on Tuesday morning, so before any Champions League fixtures have taken place. I don't know when it'll be going live, probably Wednesday or Thursday, I guess. But keep it in mind that this video has been recorded before those Champions League fixtures or any news about them. So hopefully he's fit for the Champions League. If not, we need to wait for news to see if he's going to be fit for that league fixture. At the moment, I'm definitely holding on to him. I only have 1 free transfer. I would prefer to roll that transfer if I can. Man City also have quite a tempting fixture away at Cardiff, so I would love to have him playing in that. But as always, it's a wait and see. I do like to be very patient in my approach, and I do recommend that others try to be patient as well. The next player that I'm going to discuss has been recommended by my main mini-league rival. I'm going to call him Ashley, because that's his name. So Ashley asked what he should do with Mkhitaryan. I think it's obvious that you should get rid of Mkhitaryan. He does seem like a good option. He genuinely seems like a good option, and I'm sure that when he finally gets the start, he's going to get some returns, and that's going to put the dilemma in people's heads even more. Do I bring him in? Do I keep him? Do I get rid of him? For me, I would be getting rid of him. I didn't bring him in, and I'm not planning to bring him in. If any player pretty much is a rotation risk, then I don't like them. The exception of that, for me, is Man City players. I switched out Bernardo Silva because I thought he was a bigger rotation risk than David Silva, so I brought in David Silva this week. He did very well for me in his first appearance. Typically, Bernardo Silva didn't get rotated, but still didn't return, so it didn't really matter. But I think with Man City and perhaps Liverpool, they scored that many goals that even with the rotation risk, you kind of have to have a ticket in the lottery. With other teams, such as Arsenal, they don't seem to be running at 100 miles an hour, so I would definitely look to get rid of any rotation risk in a team that doesn't score loads and loads of goals. Next up, I'm going to talk about a few players. I'm going to talk about Spurs in general. Harry Kane, what is going on with him? His stats are terrible compared to other seasons. If you have Kane, I would absolutely be looking to get rid of him. Yes, he can haul on any day, but at 12.5 or whatever he is now, I imagine he might have dropped a few. I'm not going to check that. Get rid of him. He's just not providing the value. And I'm not just talking about in points scored, which he hasn't provided that many points, but I'm also talking about his underlying statistics. He's not getting in the box as much as he was. He's not having as many shots as he was. He's obviously not scoring as much as he was. It's a real problem. Just get rid of him. There are a few options that you can look at. It doesn't take a genius to know which striking options you should be considering. Spurs in general, Eriksen, he picked up an assist. At least I think he got credited for the assist on that goal. Doesn't look amazing. He's had a lot of shots. I think he tops the table for the player with the most shots in the league that hasn't yet scored. So that is promising for Eriksen owners. But if he's going to keep dropping in price, that is obviously a concern for later in the season. Now, I don't put too much emphasis on team value, but if a player is dropping and dropping and dropping, you've got to draw the line somewhere. You don't want to end up losing $500,000 on a player. Players like Lucas Moura, is he now a rotation risk that Son is back and Lamela obviously scored at the weekend as well? Don't know. Again, I wouldn't be bringing in Lucas Moura myself because of that rotation risk doubt. They've got the Champions League as well, so I would imagine some chopping and changing going on there. Interestingly enough, I see that Kieran Trippier didn't travel for their Champions League fixture, so I know that a lot of casual players tend to have Trippier. He could be an option. If we see this happening where he prefers to play Aurier in the Champions League and Trippier in the league, then Trippier is an amazing option. He would probably be the number one player on my team sheet if he was nailed to play every week. He is a real threat, and it's only that rotation risk that seems to be an issue with him. I'm now going to talk about Eden Hazard. Is Hazard essential? That's something that a lot of people have been asking this week, and for me, no player is essential this season other than Wan-Bissaka. If you don't have Wan-Bissaka in your team, you shouldn't be taking a hit to bring him in. But if you've got 2 frees, if you've got a wild card, there's absolutely no reason to not have him. He's picking up bonus points, he's getting clean sheets, and he's nailed on. So for that price, you've got to have him. For me, Hazard isn't essential. Would I like him in my team? Yes, but I'm not going to be bringing him in this week. That's for sure. I'll pull up my team for you one more time now. This is the team from last week. So this week I've got Mane and Salah. They've both got very tempting fixtures for me, so I don't want to get rid of either of those. Fraser and David Silva obviously just returned. I would like to keep those as well. I don't have any other option to bring Hazard in other than Salah or Mane, really. I can do Mane to Hazard. I have the money in the bank to do that, but I just want to hold on to him. I know this is bad to say, but it would quite help me out if Mane or Hazard was to pick up a knock in the Champions League. If one of those things was to happen, then it would make my life a lot easier, but for me, I'm definitely not making that move this week unless some injury or rotational team news comes out. The Hazard situation is interesting because I've seen a lot of people this week, particularly on Twitter and on Reddit, saying, thank God I bought in Hazard, and didn't listen to those people that were saying he had poor underlying stats. This, for me, is a really annoying thing to say, and I'm sorry if this offends you. I'm sorry if it's the type of thing that you've been saying. A lot of Hazard owners probably have been saying this, but I quite often like to use poker analogies. Say you've got pocket kings. You've got 2 kings in your hand, and you want to go all in, and someone tells you the other person's got pocket aces, and you just say, you know what, fuck it, I don't care, all in. Person with aces obviously calls, you hit a king and you win, and then you say, thank God I didn't listen to the person that, talked about probability and statistics, eh? I would have missed out on all that money. I would have missed out on those points, because this is the situation with Hazard for me. He isn't having enough shots. He isn't getting enough opportunities to score. Yes, he just got a hat-trick, one of which was a penalty. His underlying stats aren't that great, and I do want him in my team, so I'm not knocking him as a pick at all. But it was just an annoying thing for me when people talk about, Hazard's stats and the fact that he scored a hat-trick. I think he will return for a lot of points this season. I do want him in my team, but yeah, I guess we'll move on to the next point as I've kind of hammered that one home. The final player that I want to talk about is Romelu Lukaku. A lot of people are looking at him now. He's kind of going under the radar for such a well-known player for such a well-known team. He's returning nicely. His underlying stats are very good. He's having a lot of shots. His expected goals are quite high. His actual goals are quite high as well. And Man United, they're actually playing some attacking football. I can't believe I'm saying this in a Mourinho team, but they actually look like they want to score some goals. Obviously, the press and the fans have probably got on Mourinho's back a little bit, and whereas normally he'd be stubborn, maybe he's been forced to change his mind and change his tactics a little bit. I think Lukaku, I never know how to say his name. I think he could be an option, but for me, there's too many good midfield options plus Aguero up front for me to be able to bring him in. Now, if you thought Aguero was going to get rotated, or if you just, you know what, if you just fancy a little bit of a punt, you could look to do Aguero to Lukaku if you're on wildcard maybe. I definitely wouldn't use up a free transfer on doing that move. It's very sideways at best. But it could be one to consider. He does have good underlying stats, and I do like Lukaku as a pick right now. But I wouldn't be using a free transfer to bring him in. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to quickly talk about the fact that I was #1 in the world on Fantasy Bet. Okay, so on Fantasy Bet this week, I played in the £11 buy-in, £1,000 guaranteed prize pool game, and I only had the one entry, and I actually managed to win the thing. It was all thanks to a lucky auto sub that got me the win in the end. I think I would have been about 5th or 6th if I didn't get that lucky auto sub, but yeah, I won it. I took it down for £279.39. You know, it's not life-changing money, but it's a bit of fun, and if you do think that you have an edge in fantasy sports, like, you know, I like to think I have a small edge. I don't think it's massive. There are definitely better fantasy players out there than I am, but if you think you've got an edge, or if you just want to have a bit of fun, a bit of a gamble, then I've put a link to Fantasy Bet down in the description below. You can see that pretty much everything I did turned to gold. There was just the Alonso 2-pointer. I looked out with triple Wolves defence. I did only have double, but I got the auto sub for a triple defence. I had Wan-Bissaka. I had Hazard as captain. I don't even know who didn't score. Aguero got 2 assists. Lukaku, Maddison, Hazard, Silva, Sigurdsson, they all scored. It was just a perfect week for me. So I'm not going to go on about that one too much, but I did manage to win, so I was pretty happy with that. Took it down, and I hope there's more to come. I'm going to be playing in the Champions League games this week, because it's not just Premier League fixtures they have. They do have games for the Champions League. They have season-long games that I'm in as well. And once again, there is a link down in the description below. It's an affiliate link, so if that offends you, then just go directly to their site. If you'd like to support the channel a little bit and you do want to play this game, then going through that link would help me out in the very smallest of ways. Back to my plans now for this week on Fantasy Premier League. It really does come down to the Mendy news again. Now, those of you that hold Ings as a player, he is out. He's ruled out because it's his parent club, Liverpool, that Southampton are playing, so he can't play in that. If Mendy is injured and ruled out, that leaves me with one sub, and it's Guendouzi from Arsenal. Now, I think he's going to get rotated finally. A lot of Arsenal fans have been waiting for Torreira to start, and I think it's probably time that, you know, that he does get the start over Guendouzi. Again, terrible with names. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right, so I'm just going to not say his name anymore. I don't expect him to start, and if he does, he's probably going to get a one-pointer again. So I do have a real problem if Mendy is ruled out. I would probably have to use my one free transfer, begrudgingly, to bring someone in that's going to play. Now, I think I might use it on Guendouzi. I just said I wouldn't say his name, and then I say it again straight away. I have some money in the bank, and whilst I don't like tying funds up in bench players, if I'm not doing that Mane to Hazard move, I don't really have the money to spend on anything. I'm really happy with my team. I'm happy with the structure. I broke the template last week by getting rid of Robertson, so I don't have the holy trinity of defence anymore. And it was Doherty that I bought in for the 12-pointer. So, as I say, everything I did this week turned to gold. Will it happen again next week? I hope so. I'm ranked inside the top 17k. If I could break into the top 10k this early on, that would be amazing. Going to try my best. How are you getting on this season? Can you let me know in the comments below if you're doing well, if you're doing badly? You know, if you are doing badly, it's so early in the season that it just doesn't really matter. If you're inside the top 1 million or wherever you are, you still have a good chance. Last season, I had an absolute shocker. I ended up finishing just outside the top 100k, so it was a really terrible season for me. But after, I think it was game week 10 or game week 12, I was ranked outside the top 2 million. It was just an awful season for me. I got rid of Salah early on with his tough fixtures, and that just bit me massively. But when you do drop down, you have a lot of places to make up, and yes, I still wasn't happy with my overall rank, but if you're inside the top 500k or 1 million after 10 weeks, you still got a good chance of a very good overall rank. Don't worry about it if you're not ranked highly yet, because it's a marathon and not a sprint. So let me know how you are getting on in the comments below, and what changes do you have in mind? Do you have any questions for me? Drop them in the comments below as well, or tweet me at beatingbetting. I'll put a link to my Twitter in the description below as well. If you have found this video useful or enjoyable, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you are interested in seeing more Fantasy Premier League videos or betting related videos. I do a load of stuff on this channel. I do a wide range of content. If you do want to see that stuff, then hit subscribe. Until next time, to all of you and to Ashley, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.